Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar on M365 Copilot. We begin shortly. Just wanted to give people a couple of more minutes to join in. I can see the attendee list growing. We'll get started at sharp 15:02. Just bear with us for one more minute. Just giving last few seconds for our audience in the lobby. Meanwhile, feel free to peruse through the set of instructions on your screen. Thank you so much. I see we've got a healthy list of attendees now. Again, as I'd like to point out that there's a set of instructions that are there on the screen that you might want to read through. And Roland, I'd like to invite you to formally kick off the webinar now.
Thank you, Divya, and thank you all for joining today's event on M365 Copilot. My name is Roland Carandang. I'm a managing director here at Protiviti and lead innovation for our global technology business. I'm delighted to kick us off today. The digital transformation continues. COVID is widely seen as a catalyst for these efforts, but leading companies now recognize digital and innovation as a continuous effort, not a one-off event. Technological advancement and related ways of working are two key drivers for this. Before we get into the demonstrations today, I just ask you to think about how most office-based workers operate today. We research topics in Edge. We might capture our thoughts in OneNote. We create and analyze content in Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. We engage with each other in our time. Nearly everything we do in these tools can be done faster or better with Copilot. Copilot, not autopilot. So, Protiviti. Leaders and users will be interested. So will HR, legal, audit, and work councils. I believe the risk and compliance concerns around Copilot are healthy, but they stem from advocates not doing enough to demystify how the technology works and what it can do for us. At Protiviti, we take a lot of pride in how we partner with our clients to work through this complexity. And in the Privacy and Compliance Trailblazer Award we won last year because of this. With us today, presenting, we have Ben Bruce. Ben is just coming off as a secondment leading one of our 3 global innovation centers. He's someone whose technical strength and innovation mindset mean he's always involved with our cutting edge. Victor, the productivity guy and lover of instant coffee, I now know, solely focused on partnering with clients across the Microsoft 365 stack and obsessed with Copilot. We also have with us from Microsoft, Rob Lovett. He's from the Fast Track program, and he's going to share some insights from his deployments and how we partner together for your benefit. We're going to close the event today with a panel discussion. In this, we're going to be joined by 3 other people. Andy Paul, who has recently been accepted by Microsoft into its coveted Most Valuable Professionals, or MVP program, for his expertise in M365. Claire Prosser, the glue in our partnership with Microsoft and our joint efforts with clients, and Matt Duncan, one of my favorite leaders in our business and the person I go to for all things related to human capital management, culture, and employee experience, or just a good laugh. I'll now hand back to Divya Moodgill, our moderator for today's session. Thank you, Divya.
Thank you so much, Roland. Our agenda today is well-packed and filled with exciting things. We'll begin with an overview of Microsoft AI and Copilot, thereby moving on to the business benefits, followed by key factors to consider for implementing Copilot. And lastly, as Roland mentioned, an interactive Q&A panel with our experts. Throughout the session, we will present demos of Copilot for Microsoft 365. This will hopefully show a few of the use cases for Copilot using the popular tools such as MS Word, Team, Excel, and Outlook. To the audience, feel free to use the Q&A section to drop your queries. Our team will be monitoring the chat and we'll take your questions to the live panel. If you're viewing the slides in full screen, make sure you press escape to also view the demos when presented. With this, I'd like to hand over to Victor Winsing, who will take us on the journey of AI and Copilot. My apologies, looks like there was a little bit of technical glitch. Let me retry. Victor, can you hear us? Hello?
You must be in the room, Divya. I can hear you fine.
You're able to hear me?
Yes. Thank you, Victor.
Fantastic. All right. We're just having some minor difficulties, but now that's fixed. Again, good day, everybody. My name is Victor, and I'm here to help you and guide you through our Copilot webinar today. So we're going to start with the questions burning in your mind. As you start in your journey, right, you need to understand how this product, this solution will actually help you. And Microsoft has put together a set of Microsoft AI principles to help rest those questions at ease. The first three things that you need to remember when using Microsoft Copilot are your data is your data, right? Microsoft will not be able to use this data, which goes to number two, to train this LLM. This data remains with you and you have sole ownership of it. And very important, the third part of the Microsoft AI principle is that all of these data that, and even Copilot that you use are backed by very strong security protection that's offered by Microsoft. But let's not forget, not only those three things are important to remember, you also have the backing of having Microsoft to support this growth in using this AI. Now, let's look into what are the different questions that you need to ask in your organization as you get started. Let's look at the next slide. When preparing for AI, there are a set of different questions that you need to ask. Let's start with the first two. The first question that you need to ask is, well, what are my organization's goals for AI? What are you trying to achieve? The second is, what exactly are the pain points that my organization currently has that AI can solve? Now, there are other questions, and we're going to show these questions. But before we even move to those questions, let's get these two right first, because if you're not even able to answer the first two, then the others will not make sense. Okay? So just to read through the other items that you see on the screen here, you also need, aside from understanding organizational goals and pain points, will AI help you deliver the capabilities that you need? How are your users going to be able to embrace it, and so on? But the first two are the most critical. Now that that's been answered, we're now going to look into the different generative AI capabilities that Microsoft has to offer. So Microsoft generative AI offerings with Microsoft, it comes into different flavors. Let's have a look. Go to the next slide. Thank you very much. So for Microsoft, there are different ways that you could use a generative AI when you're considering adopting generative AI offering. So you need to look into, number one, do I want to build my own? Or number two, do I want to leverage something that's like a managed service? So think of, when I say managed service, like your Microsoft 365, your Outlook, your SharePoint, your Teams. Now, if you want to be able to, for example, model or generate answers based on your own data, then solution for you is Copilot for Microsoft 365, because Microsoft or Copilot for Microsoft 365 is powered by Microsoft Graph, which reads through and understands the data that's inside your organization, and it is integrated into your Microsoft 365 application, and also has a bunch of plugins that you can use to make it more extensive and make it work for your business. Now, if you do not want to use your own data, right? If you do not want to use your own data, then you can also use Microsoft Copilot, because it utilizes the OpenAI service via the Azure OpenAI service, and it will be able to help you generate data based from the web. Okay. Now, for those of you who are like me, who would like to think around and build your own solution, build your own apps, then you can also use the Azure OpenAI service from Microsoft. In this way, you'll have a developer-friendly, enterprise-secure way of building your own Copilot. Everything that you want, you can build on Azure OpenAI. Okay? So that will offer you something that's more streamlined. And if you also want just to build something that's maybe in an easier way, low code, no code, Microsoft also offers Copilot Studio. So think of Power Platform, but for Copilot. It's that simple. So Copilot Studio offers low code tools, and it also utilizes the Azure OpenAI service out of the box. It enables you to build dynamic application using various data sources such as databases or even web pages. Next, what we're going to look at are the different available Copilot services from Microsoft. Let's look at the next one. So, Microsoft offers a bunch of different Microsoft Copilot solutions. For today, we're going to be focusing on Copilot for Microsoft 365. We're going to be looking at Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Teams. But Copilot also is available for other solutions such as Windows, right? There's also Copilot for Dynamics, Copilot to manage your data, which is Fabric Copilot. If you're in the security space, you'll be glad to know that there is Security Copilot to make your work a lot easier. And if you're a developer, like what I mentioned, you have a Power Platform Copilot as well as a GitHub Copilot. Now, what I would like to do is to actually start showcasing to you what Copilot can do through this very quick and simple demo. Let's start our journey for Copilot for Microsoft 365 using our most commonly used application, Microsoft Word. To access Copilot in Word, simply click on the Copilot application that you see on the upper right of the screen. Or you can also trigger Copilot by clicking on the Copilot icon that you see floating on top of the Word application. The shortcut to access it is simply just pressing Alt-I. By clicking on that icon, the draft with Copilot function will appear, and now we could feed it with a prompt of what we're trying to do. In this demo, what I'd like to do is for it to create a guide on how to create a good webinar. Or maybe not create, but deliver a good webinar. And I will ask it to limit it to 3 paragraphs. You will notice that there's this reference file. So what this is I can even tell Copilot, hey Copilot, can you use the structure or the materials that I already have in some of the recently accessed files that I own? But since I don't have anything that matches what I'm looking for, I'm going to ask it to just generate something from scratch. Copilot is doing its thing. It's processing my prompt, and now you can see the outcome. So I've asked it to create something within 3 paragraphs. It has 3 different sections, but it's too much bullet points. So what you could do with it is you can always amend your prompt, improve your prompts, and say, remove all bullet points, and click on generate once more. Copilot would iterate on the output and will provide you with exactly what you're looking for, removing the bullet points from the text. That's not the only thing that Copilot can do. One of the things that I love using Copilot on is helping me read up and understand documents. So in this scenario, think of this document, it could be 1,000 pages, right? What I could do is I could use the summarize, this document function, or I can simply click it, or I can also type it. And what Copilot will do is it will review the entire document and it will provide you with a summary of the information that is inside of this document. It could be a 1-pager or again 1,000-pager, it doesn't matter, because what it will do is as it creates a summary, it will give you these different links, right, of where it found that information. And by simply clicking on any of these items, it will bring you to that section where this information was taken from. Now, if you're new to Copilot or to AI whatsoever, what Microsoft has done for you is that it made prompting easier. So if you'd like to know what Copilot for Word can do, you can also just click on the View Prompts, and it will give you some guidance on what are the items that you could do with Copilot. So from telling you more about this data, summarizing it, or doing more data manipulation. So this is how Copilot can help you become more effective and efficient in working on your documents.
Cool. Thanks, Victor. That demo in words. We'll now look at the where people are at with Copilot so far. So Microsoft have an early adopters program. Lots of its partners and companies have capitalized on those Copilot licenses across the board, and they've started gathering some of those insights into it. And I'm not going to go into all the detail of these ones, but some of the most interesting ones at the moment is that one up in the top left-hand corner. That 77% of those early adopters don't want to give up their license once they've got it. They're finding the benefits from it, and they want to just hold on to it and keep more experimenting. And this is, again, this is the early adopters. This is the beginning stages, kind of the alpha, if you like. We've got a lot more to be going on for. But what was interesting as part of the survey that they did was they asked those employees if you had the choice between having a Copilot license for that for the license per month, or having a free meal from your company per week. 80% of them would rather hold on to that license rather than get the free meals. That's how much benefit it brings to them. So given a choice, the employees have spoken, and they want to hold on to those licenses, even if they say it would influence their choice of employer as well. So employers need to listen to their employees in regards to having access to these tools and capabilities. So why Copilot for Microsoft 365? Why is it worth the investment for employees, from organizations out there? It's a powerful business tool. It can be overwhelming for a lot of people to start off with, but as people start using the tools, they begin to start getting hands-on with them, finding those use cases that they can repeat on a regular basis. It really shows the level of investment on a business and its employees to be able to take that and put it into their business as usual daily jobs. And those key benefits are crucial for any of those business. So firstly, those significant boosts in employee productivity and those performance. Streamlining tasks, those regular things that employees have to do on a regular basis, being able to have an AI tool to be able to put in a prompt, point it at a document, being able to get a lot of those insights and summaries from those sorts of things. It's kind of the key area that we're focusing on as a first step. And we want to support that through all those various 365 applications. Secondly, it facilitates employee skill enhancements. There's a quote that came online, is that AI won't replace you, but those people that have the skills and prompting and to use AI will. So enhancing your employee base with AI skills and using co-pilots is an extremely important part of their personal development processes. It's the assistance from those co-pilots to be able to take a lot of the workflow off their hands and be able to put that into new areas of involvement within the business, and how to really capitalize on that. And it's being done in those familiar workplace environments of the Office 365 apps that everyone knows and loves. And then lastly, it represents a new stage of enterprise knowledge sharing. Being able to have those understandings of how those co-pilots works, being able to share with those colleagues what prompts work for them in those different scenarios. It's important that we get people using these type of tools so they can start sharing their experiences, the different use cases, where they're being able to see those benefits across, and being understanding what those possible areas of innovation are and efficiencies across the organization are really key for those early adopters to start sharing with the community within the organization to see what it can potentially come next. So we'll move on to understanding what the 365 offers in the range of different use cases. Some of those common use cases that we're seeing across, hold on a second, we're just going to move to a demo, sorry, to have a look at the Excel possibilities at this point.
Now let's look at how you can use Microsoft Copilot for Excel. In this demo, we'll look at how you can also use Copilot through your web browser. Let's start with using Copilot to help us understand the data that you see on this table. Let's open up Copilot and ask it to help us summarize the data that includes total budget, revenue, average engaged users, and of course, I'd like to know what is our highest revenue. So I'll go ahead and ask it a question. Click on send. Once the output has been generated, we can always use Copilot to just simply insert it to a new sheet. We can also use Copilot to create visualization. This will help us better understand the trends. So let's create some visualization. Let's instruct Copilot to create a bar chart or visualization that would show us the revenue by campaign name. And now Copilot has helped me create a new bar chart, and to add it to my data, I simply click on Add to a new sheet. We can also use Copilot to manipulate the data. In this example, I would like for it to update the date in the launch date so that it can be in the full day, month, and year. I would also like for it to change the years from 2023 and make it to 2024. So let's see what it's going to do. Now that it's all been changed, what we could also do is sort the data. And of course, we're going to use Copilot. We're going to ask it to sort the data dates. And now everything has been sorted accordingly, all the way down from January to February 25th of 2024. As we've seen, Copilot for Excel can significantly enhance your business data management, making your work more efficient and more effective.
Thanks again, Victor, for that demo. Right, so we're going to have a look at some of those use cases. We've already covered some of those key benefits from the productivity and performance aspect of this and that knowledge sharing in these three areas here. So let's jump to some of the other use cases that we're going to see before we jump into some more demos across the 365 platform. So again, Office 365 covers Teams, Outlook, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, kind of those 5 core ones that are in most of our daily lives in a corporate enterprise. So we're looking at one of the key ones that we've seen within Protiviti is within Teams, being able to recap a meeting, letting Copilot take over the recording of a meeting and transcripting it live. You can interact with it whilst you're on a meeting, being able to understand and summarize at any point in time what has happened so far in the meeting, and then also being able to take that transcript at the end of the meeting, summarizing it, pulling insights from it, and being able to turn that into something else, whether that's a contract agreement, whether that's a set of instructions for the next meeting, a future agenda, etc. So it's one of the key benefits that we've seen in using the Teams Copilot here at Protiviti. Some of those Outlook ones, though, quite powerful. Being able to ask Copilot to help you drafting emails, understanding what previous emails have come through, being able to take content from previous emails to move forward into what those replies look like. Talking to Copilot on asking it, how is my email? Does it sound right? Asking it to be able to confirm with you whether it's the right tone, if there are certain words that might be too technical potentially. Copilot's a great way for you to get better at writing emails. I can say for myself that is extremely beneficial for someone like me. As we start looking at some of those other use cases, Word documents, for example, long contracts, for example, being able to actually take a 40-page document, for example, summarizing that into the key areas, asking it to pull out specific insights from that document, massive time saver for organizations as well. If you're in the legal department and you're used to building contracts, once you start getting used to how Copilot works, understanding what those prompts are, they're really going to help you go from a 2-4 hour work of reviewing something to just asking Copilot up front. Do it based on a previous document and like a template, for example. Do you see any changes, any anomalies, anything that we should like to understand? You can give it context, being able to say, we're in this geography, letting it being able to understand if there are certain legal requirements in one place to another. This is where we need to understand where we're going. And then Copilot in Teams, there's a whole chat there that you can talk to interact with that Graph API to help you find contacts that you've been speaking to, emails, documentation. It can help you summarize a 3 to 6 month period, for example, into a very short summary of what you've been doing with people and the documents that are there. So from that perspective, we're finding that Teams and Outlook, for me personally, have been extremely advantageous. But at this point in time, it's early. So the possibilities are endless. Copilot's going to become more and more advanced, and what it's capable of doing in all of those Office 365 applications that we all use are going to become more and more advanced. We're now going to jump to another one of those demos, now looking at my favorite, Microsoft Teams.
Now let's look at Microsoft Copilot for Teams and how it can help you become more effective and more productive. Let's start with how you access Microsoft Copilot on Teams. You can access it through either clicking on this application here, which will open up Copilot that's dedicated for this chat, or what I prefer to do is to click on the Copilot app that is available for you to use. So let's do that right now. So now just open up Microsoft Copilot for 365, and this Copilot will interact with all the items that is inside of a Microsoft Teams. So in this case, what I would like to do is I would like to ask Copilot to help me prepare for Copilot webinar that's going to be happening for next week. Let's click on OK or Enter. And as you can see, Copilot has prepared me with a list of different items that I need to complete. But that's not the only thing it can do. It can also interact with your calendar. So in this demo, without leaving the application, I'm going to ask it, when is my next meeting with Benjamin? Copilot then opened up my calendar and it provided me with that information. So I know that I have a meeting with Ben the following day. From here, I can either click on this meeting invite so that it opens up Microsoft Teams, or I can also copy it. The next thing that I need to do is, of course, I need to draft a follow-up for Benjamin, and I'll keep it generic. And lastly, now that I know when my meeting with Ben and I have the email, I would also like for Copilot to help me create a table with a task list for Ben and myself for the upcoming webinar. Not only does it create a table, it also provides me with the different references that I would need to be able to complete this task. As we've seen, Microsoft Copilot for Teams can significantly enhance your team collaboration and productivity. It helps automate meeting preparation, capturing meeting notes, generating follow-up emails, and also helping us manage our team tasks more efficiently. Moreover, Copilot is continuously improving and evolving to make you even more productive and informed in your collaborative efforts. By leveraging AI to streamline your workflows, you can focus more on the strategic task and drive better business outcomes.
Thanks, Victor. Now we're going to go straight into another demo for Outlook, another one of my favorites.
Next, we're going to look into Microsoft Copilot for Outlook and how Copilot for Outlook can make your business and work more effective and efficient. Let's start with managing and triaging your emails. Imagine your inbox is full with unread messages. With Copilot for Outlook, you can just simply type summarize my last 3 emails and press enter. It will give you a quick summary of your last 3 emails. As you can see, I don't even have to open up my last 3 emails. I now immediately have a summary. Next, we'll look at what you can do with Copilot when creating a new email. I've just launched a new email and I'm now going to select Draft with Copilot. And in this scenario, I'm going to ask it to write an email to inform our friends of the success of the webinar. And click on Generate. Copilot will now start building that draft for me, but that's not all. What you would see after the text has been generated is that Copilot will also provide me with different options of how I would like for this email to sound like, or even the length of the entire email. I can make it shorter, longer, or even make it more formal. So if I don't like what I just saw, I simply select Make More Formal, and Copilot will redo it for me. Once I'm pleased with the outcome, click on Keep It, and I can go ahead and type in my recipient and click on Send. After an email has been created for you, what you can also use Copilot for is to help it coach you and help you review the content of your email. So we're going to select Copilot, and we'll ask it to review what we've written down. It's going to review the tone, the clarity. How does this email sound like to the recipient? As you can see, Copilot was able to review the email, and it is recommending us to use a warmer tone, not too professional, so that we could come out as more appreciative and more enthusiastic to the recipient. And this is how Copilot can help you become more effective and more efficient in writing your next email.
Wow, thank you so much, Ben and Victor. I hope our audience was as dazzled as I was. Before we head into our next section, on your screen, there should be a poll that would have appeared. Our first question for you is, how would your organization benefit the most from Copilot for Microsoft 365? You can select one or more of the options here, and then we'll just take a quick look into the responses and how everyone's feeling about Copilot, right, in terms of the benefits. So I'm going to give everyone 10 seconds. Let's move on to the results now. 60% of you do believe that Copilot can improve productivity in day-to-day tasks, such as meeting summarization. I cannot agree more. It's good to see that 20% of you do see value in overcoming the blank page syndrome as well. There's another question, and it'll be as quick and fast. Moving on. Where are you in your AI Copilot journey? You can only select one of the options here. Again, a 10-second pause for everyone to formulate their answer and then respond to it. Let's move on and see the results. 100% of you do believe that you are just starting your journey of Copilot in terms of training and organization. Thank you so much. Now for the next segment, I would like to invite Rob, who's Microsoft's Principal Relationship Manager, and he's going to talk about the technical readiness for Microsoft 365 alongside the fast path. Rob, over to you.
Thank you. What Microsoft service gives you for Microsoft 365 Copilot worldwide, multi-region, multi-tenant, multi-language, often simultaneously and concurrently, to Microsoft's best practice and high standards of technical enablement, whilst only needing 150 M365 licenses, but 0 Copilot? Fast Track. I'm Rob Lovett. I'm a Fast Track architect at Microsoft's Fast Track Center in Microsoft Engineering. I was a part of the early adopter program for Microsoft. I'm an internal M365 Copilot champion. And I'm going to take you on the journey of what you can expect with working with Fast Track and our partners such as Protiviti. Now, let's look at that. With all of what I've just said, we will not do it for you. This is where Protiviti comes in and partners very similar to them. We're not going to do hands-on remediation. We're not going to do the effort in your environment. We will guide you through it and essentially get you into our product, hopefully as quickly as possible, but you may still need to leverage Protiviti and other partners. As you can see from the slide, there is a clear distinction between what we can do to help you and what you may be reliant on your partners for. But as we move forward, we can talk about the Copilot readiness journey for you. As you can see, this is broken down into several areas. It starts with an optimization assessment. This is where we look at your environment very lightly and essentially go, what do you need to just get on the product? Everything that we do is about just getting you into it. So you may want to rely more on services from Protiviti to look at a lot more detail than this. But if you're looking to make that next step, as I just saw on the poll, this is how you can get there. It starts with that assessment and then getting started, bottom rung of that ladder. We'll look at your licenses. We'll help you look at your environment, and we'll look at what you need to get onto there and essentially what is ready, which moves into core. Now, all three of these areas can happen simultaneously and concurrently, but if we progress through this just for the benefit of this webinar, when we're looking at core, we're really just talking about minimum requirement to get into that foundational usage and just on to M365 Copilot. And I'll talk a bit more about that particular element and how close you probably are to that towards the end. And then we move into best in class. Best in class is a much more long-term view. This is where you're very likely to leverage partners like Protiviti to look a lot more at your data governance, but initially you might have some apprehensions. It might be things like, what about that file repository that's got some files in there that I don't know about? What about that risk? We can help you understand that and at least quantify initially what you need to start thinking about getting more help in to look at it in more depth, but initially just using Copilot. And we'll talk a little bit more of that as we move on to the next slide, looking at and addressing security governance and data access in general. So as you can see, there's quite a lot on that slide, so I'm just going to sum it up quite briefly. We'll help you with some of the reports to look at your environment initially. We'll have a look at some of the data governance you've got in place. We can help you with just getting some stuff out the box going, whilst leveraging resource from, say, Protiviti or other Microsoft partners, and looking at what you need to just feel a little bit more comfortable with getting Gen AI into your business as quickly as possible. There will be additional work that you may want to consider, but once you've used us to get going, you can start to see that benefit and realize what you need to do and to be continuing your competitive journey. And as we move into the next slide, I did promise to talk about what ready looks like, and that's what this is. The technical prerequisites to attain ready and just simply be doing it. Now, I'm hoping as customers, you're looking at this and going, actually, we've got half of that already. And you probably do, because we found most of our customers only need a couple of items on there or a little bit of a health check on some of them because they're just not too sure if they're ready. And Fast Track can do that quite quickly. And then you can start thinking about what you need to move forward, because you can actually just start doing that. You can start using Gen AI immediately once you do that. And the areas in particular that we've noticed are enabling loop, which you probably don't have enabled, and we can take you through that, and network requirements such as the web sockets that you need to get going. And again, that best practice guidance on how to get there can come from Fast Track before you start thinking, or at the same time, because we can't do it for you, as using partners like Protiviti. Now, hopefully I've got to this point and you're thinking, how do we do that? The answer is setup.microsoft.com. And on there, you'll find advanced deployment guides. If you want to help yourself, you can simply just work through them whilst utilizing resource from partners like Protiviti or any other Microsoft partner. Or if you have 150 Microsoft 365 licenses, you can request for assistance and have some subject matter experts or engineers or Fast Track managers or even potentially a Fast Track architect such as myself come in and help you through that. And we will get you into the position where you are ready, and then you'll be no longer asking yourself, are you ready? Because you will be. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rob, for joining us and presenting this. Now, I'm very excited to invite our three panelists for an interactive Q&A. You must have heard Roland's introduction of our panelists, Matt Duncan, Claire Prosser, and Andy Parr. So thank you so much, all three of you. We do have loads of interesting questions. Hopefully that doesn't put you in a tight spot. The first question that we've received is, where in organization can Copilot be adopted? Matt, I'd like to begin with you. We've also received separately another question in conjunction to that discusses the use case for HR itself. So can you weigh in on that, please?
Yeah, sure. And hello, everyone. It's been a fascinating presentation so far, and it's great to see just a snapshot of the capabilities that we have here. In answer to your first question, where can it be implemented? The answer is anywhere. But I wouldn't just say do it anywhere. It can be used anywhere, but it needs to be done deliberately. And by that, I mean, there has to be a mindset and desire to make the technology work, to make AI work, and an understanding, most importantly, of why you're doing it. So one of the biggest challenges that I hear from leaders is, oh, we've been told we've got to go and invest in AI, but they have no idea why. And I think what the opportunity is here, particularly with the advances that we've just seen a hint of today, is that it can be used to improve experience and turn that improved experience into a competitive advantage. And that's exciting because there are a few questions that we've had around efficiency and being clear where that efficiency sits, being clear whose experience it is you're looking to improve, be that of your employees or be that of your customers. And it can be both, but just challenge yourself to not go, I'm implementing AI for AI's sake. I'm doing this because it aligns to our business strategy, to our business values, to where we want to go to. So there's a really exciting opportunity. It can be anywhere, but I would suggest that it's done where there is tangible business value to go at and where there is a mindset and desire to do this and to enable a change and to adapt to the change. There's often a question as well, which isn't quite what you asked, but it plays into the mindset point, Divya, which is around where in the workforce should we do this and what's the impact on the culture in the workforce. And I think there's a subtle shift that leaders can take in their mindsets around AI, and that's about seeing it as part of your workforce. So it enables a new culture, a more modern culture, a different culture, and shift the thinking from just technology to an enabler of culture. And I think that's quite exciting. But really leaving this group with the concept, or one that is getting a lot of traction, I know, with Microsoft and their partners, and we see it with our Protiviti clients, which is improving experience to drive competitive advantage. On your second point, because I know we don't have too long for this, where within kind of the HR world are we seeing use cases for AI? And there's a few that I'll list off. There's automated resume if you're in the US, or CV screening. That's being used quite a lot. What Copilot can do is scan and evaluate large volumes of data in CVs, in resumes, and then compare that against predefined criteria. So that's quite exciting, and that's a common application that's being used in a number of places already. There's processes around employee onboarding, which are seeing a lot of usage as well. AI can be used to monitor employee engagement as well, and that's quite good because you can then ask it questions to provide insights as to how improvements that can be made. So it's not just retrospective; it is a forward-looking area, which is great. Around performance management as well. What's great about this, the technology that we've seen today and the Microsoft technology is, again, it's not just retrospective, but where you've got high performers, it can then analyze data and say, where are areas of improvement? And then you can refine that yourself, but it gives the prompts there. And then in L&D is the other area that we're seeing a lot from an HR perspective, and that's around recommending personalized training programs for people and employees to take. So there's a number of areas, that's just a few, but if there's a mindset, if there's a desire, if there is clarity on why you want to use the AI, then it's something that can be really exciting for the workforce of the future.
Thank you so much, Matt. That was super insightful. Just on the same lines, Andy, you're an MVP of Microsoft. What do you think, apart from HR, what are the other sort of business areas where Copilot for Microsoft 365 can be easily implemented? If you could just summarize it in a few sentences.
Yeah, sure. Thanks very much, Divya. I think in terms of summarizing it itself, there's as Matt says, there's a number of different areas such as finance, working within data and analytics, as well as looking at other areas such as, operational processing, etc. So you can use Copilot embedded within either your emails, as we've seen with PowerPoint, Excel, and Word, to be able to kickstart your journey with writing new information and scripts, looking to summarize data to provide graphs and charts and reporting information, as well as PowerPoint presentations to help with proposals and putting together reports and project plans as well. So those are some of the basic things that you can use to get kickstarted within M365 Copilot.
Much, Andy. Claire, you're super close to our clients. How widely these then business use cases are then adopted and used within the organization once implemented?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Microsoft 365 Copilot can be used in every role in an organization. There's just a feature to benefit every team member. Matt's talked a little bit about HR, but I mean, we just see it across marketing teams, business users, the legal teams, audit, finance teams. It's just remarkable how many different use cases we've seen as we've been talking internally within Protiviti and to our clients.
Thank you. That's really nice. I think there's one question within the chat that I'm reading quite often, which is how can we ensure we remain GDPR compliant using the tool? Andy, if I can please ask you to weigh in on that.
Yeah, so within Copilot itself, especially when you're looking at M365 Copilot that's being deployed within your organization, it is basically deployed within your own tenant, and that means that the data isn't going to be residing and leaving out of your organization. That said, there's a few different things, a few different components that get used as part of Copilot. So one, which is the large language models, where Copilot will use what's been trained and learned to provide answers. Secondly, it refers to Microsoft's graph, which is basically looking at emails, chats, etc., that you have within the organization to be able to get contextual data and information. And thirdly, referencing and connecting up with the Microsoft 365 app. So that's your Words, Excels, PowerPoints. With those three components in mind, what happens as part of the process is to be able to take the data and reference what's known as anchoring your data within your organization. So with those documentation and everything else, taking the user's context and what they're doing. So for example, if they're in a meeting and they're using Copilot to summarize it, it'll take existing data that it has along with the data that's being created as part of what's happening then and now to be able to then provide a response. Now, I guess the key thing is looking at the Copilot interaction history, which is basically the prompt that you've asked Copilot in terms of can you do X, Y, Z, the response that Copilot provides, and also any citations, so any additional information that it references, i.e. policies, emails, documentation, etc. So all of that Copilot history will reside within the organization's own sort of tenant and service. And that data that is reside within there, Microsoft has an agreement with the organization itself in terms of the data storage of it to make sure that it meets sort of compliance and GDPR requirements. And as part of that, the data that is stored is going to be encrypted at rest. And also it means that the data isn't further used to train the large language model that Copilot sort of references. So it means that it doesn't go elsewhere and it doesn't leave the organization. What you can further do within that part is look at tools which allow you to be able to then sort of manage the settings of how the data is retained, how the data is used, using Microsoft's content search or Microsoft's purview to be able to then sort of tweak the settings through what's known as an admin console in itself. So hopefully that sort of is a relatively quick answer to, a very much
It's
asked.
a relief to hear, Andy. Thank you so much. There's one more question, and I think, Claire, the string of questions are more suited for you. How do you see the risks being mitigated when following the already created steps of a security framework, such as NIST CSF?
Thanks, Divya. So yeah, the first thing we need to understand is that Copilot can enhance your productivity in your existing environment, accessing all data that you have access to. Does it have any risks? Well, based on the way you've implemented M365 and the way the data security and data access is governed in your organization, Copilot will inherit those security policies and controls. I'd say the risk is if the foundation is not robust, then the Copilot can expose weakness in your setup.
That's interesting. There are a few people asking in the Q&A box. For Copilot for Microsoft 365, what license is needed and how soon can I get started on it?
Yep, great question. So Copilot's available today. You can purchase as few as 1 licenses for your organization. The one stipulation from Microsoft is that you do have to purchase a full year term on day 1. So however many licenses you choose to buy, you are buying them for a full year. But beyond that, it's just a case of applying them to your users and getting up and running.
Thank you so much, Claire. Matt, this is the last question for today's panel, and this has come for you. In your experience, how can organizations know they are ready to adopt Copilot? Is there a roadmap, way to identify the right time for adoption? And perhaps you and Claire can together highlight this answer to us.
I think I'd answer this by saying, first of all, is there a business imperative? And it goes back to what I was saying at the start. So is there a strategic reason why Copilot should be adopted, and therefore a business driver that we have, or a particular pain point, which we heard about at the start from Victor's opening presentation. So is there a business imperative for doing it? So that's the first thing that has to be in place. Then to make sure that it's going to be adopted successfully, you need business leadership buy-in. And then that will mean that you've got a chance of pulling this through and the adoption of it being successful and enabled. But I go back to the point I made around a mindset and a desire. Is there a desire to change and embrace the change and to upskill a workforce? If that's there, then the roadmap piece is fairly simple. But without of those things, the worst case is that you have a plan and you don't have all of those things in up front. And then your plan is just as good as a piece of paper or a PowerPoint or whatever else. So business imperative, strategic leadership, and a desire and a mindset to want to embrace the change. If those things are in place, the roadmap bit's easy.
Yeah, Matt, and absolutely. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Claire. You've hit it right on the nail, Matt. Thank you so much. Just in interest of time, I would now like to call Roland here to please rejoin and provide any final remarks.
Thank you, Divya. Thank you so much to the panelists, our presenters, and the producers for today's event, who you haven't seen on camera, but have played a huge role for us, Ayushi, Shivalik, and Sean. Thank you to all of you in the audience for your time and your questions. We have not been able to cover all of them, but we will do so in a follow-up post. So we set out today to demystify how Copilot works technologically and organizationally. I hope you'll agree we've gone some way in doing that. Clients and partners like Microsoft see Protiviti as taking a similarly pragmatic approach in other areas as well, including business transformation, risk and resilience, ESG, regulatory change and compliance, and broader concepts around data and AI. We really value your time, want to ensure we're optimizing it. We will be requesting feedback after the event and very much appreciate your time in filling that out for us. We look forward to your participation or connecting with you in the meantime. Thank you again and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Roland. There's one last question / poll for the people who are still with us. Ayushi, if we could move to the next one. It's a super quick 30-second poll. Would you be interested in learning more about the Microsoft 365 Copilot Jumpstart? You can select yes or no, not at this time. Both of the answers are completely valid and acceptable. And with this, thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.
Thanks, Divya. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.